Dmitry Klokov is one of the most recognized names in the history of the sport of weightlifting. Following his career, he organized plenty of seminars and things like this and done plenty of crazy lifts. He honestly has done some of the craziest training lifts that we have ever seen. But as he is one of the most known weightlifters of all time, I just wanted to ask the question, how good was he really? So the story of Dmitry Klokov actually starts with his father. His father was Vyacheslav Klokov, and in 1983 he became the world champion for the second time actually, but I want to mention 83 because of a very big performance. So in 83, Vyacheslav Klokov snatched 192.5 kilos and clean and jerk 247.5 kilos. That is the third best non-super heavyweight clean and jerk of all time. Vyacheslav was a European and world champion, but never had the occasion to represent the Soviet Union at the Olympic Games. And so this is who he has to live up to. And so Dmitry will start weightlifting pretty early in his life. There's plenty of videos of him lifting as a child, but I'll do a big jump and we'll go straight into the early to mid 2000s. So while Dmitry Klokov competed as a junior plenty of times, he truly came into himself as a great weightlifter in 2005. In 2005, he will take part in the National Weightlifting Championships of Russia with one goal in mind. He wanted to beat his father's total. Vyacheslav had totaled 440 kilos at the World Championships in 1983 at 110 kilos of body weight. But the problem was that Dmitry Klokov was competing in 2005 and the weight class was not 110, it was 105. So taking advantage of the national championships, he will compete in 2005 and weigh in under 110 kilos. This way he would have a fair chance to total as much as his dad did, and it didn't really matter that he was in the super heavyweight category because it was not a very important competition. He'll actually put up his best result ever, pound for pound, in absolute weight. This is the most weight that he's ever lifted in his life. It's pretty interesting that it's so early in the video because we'll talk about what he did up until the late 2010s, but in 2005 is basically where he peaked. At 110 kilos of body weight, he snatched 202.5 kilos, and clean and jerk 240 kilos. He even attempted a 245 kilo clean and jerk, and he just narrowly failed the clean. Now 442.5 is enormous. It is tied for the third best non-super heavyweight total that was ever made. So this is the kind of level that Dmitry Klokov was in. And from this performance alone, I would say that he is one of the best weightlifters, one of the best heavyweights at least of all time. But the best part is that his career was truly just starting, because in 2005 he will also take part in his first senior world championships, and interestingly enough he will win them. He will snatch 192 kilos and clean and jerk 227, and just like this, in 1 year, while he was still just 22 years old, he had won the World Championships and set up one of the biggest non-super heavyweight totals of all time. But then something pretty bad happened. So there was another lift that Dmitry Klokov wanted to at least tie from his dad. And this one was a training lift. So his father had told him that back in the days, in the 80s, he had jerked 270 kilos from the racks. And because of this, Klokov needed to beat his dad. So he started to go very heavy on the jerks and he ended up getting injured. So I've seen conflicting sources about how much he actually lifted on the attempt where he injured his shoulder. I know as a fact that he got into the 260s, and I think it might be something around the 265 range that injured him. Now there's no videos of this, which is a little bit sad, but also a little bit weird because there's plenty of videos of his career. But let's just assume that it's true. Either way, it doesn't really matter all that much. What matters is that he got hurt. And after being hurt, his shoulder never really was the same again. And all of a sudden, everything had to change. So in 2006, he'll show up to the World Championships again, but he'll total only 406 kilos, 16 kilos under his best ever total that won him the World Championships the previous year. And it will be pretty much the same story in 2007. He will also win a bronze medal only and total 411 kilos, still 8 kilos under his best. He will still end up managing to earn one of the Russian spots for the Olympics. There were 2 lifters from every country allowed to enter the Olympics if they had a high enough total, of course. And there he will actually finally outperform his 2005 self. He will snatch 193 and clean and jerk 230 and earn himself a silver medal, which was something that his father had never been able to do. But at this point, Dmitry Klokov is still only 25 years old, and so he has another Olympic preparation in him. So he'll take a year off, basically, and he'll come back in 2010. He will compete at both the European Championships and the World Championships, and the Europeans he will win. It's actually one of his only European participation ever, and it will be the last title that was missing so that he could tie his father on all of his achievements. But after 2010, something pretty bad for him happened. A guy named Kazimurat Akaev from Russia, also a 94 kilo lifter, 2 times Olympic medalist, will decide that he will move up to the 105 kilo weight class. And Akaev was really good. He was actually better than Klokov. And while they actually only competed once against each other, there was a very, very clear power struggle in Russia for the best 105 kilo lifter. And this shows most in the training lifts. In the lead up to the 2011 World Championships and later to the 2012 Olympics, we'll see Dmitry Klokov snatch up to 206 kilos, 6 kilos over the world record, and Akaev snatch 210 kilos, equal to the heaviest non-super heavyweight snatch that we have ever seen. But it was pretty clear that Akaev was the better lifter. Dmitry Klokov didn't put up any truly enormous lifts in the clean and jerk. The biggest lift that we have of him in this movement is 240 from 2005 and 242.5, also from around the same period but in training. And so obviously Akaev was the stronger of the two, but this will also materialize on the platform, where Akaev will beat Dmitry Klokov in the snatch, snatching 2 kilos more than him at the World Championships, and tying him in the clean and jerk, hence winning his first world title in the 105 kilo weight class and his first world title ever. But then the problems appeared. So in the lead up to the 2012 Olympics, Klokov and Akaev were some of the biggest favorites in the 105 kilo weight class. Back then, you could still have 2 lifters of the same country compete at the Olympics. And so both of these guys were set up for a big power struggle with Andrei Aramno from Belarus, who was the current Olympic champion, snatch and total world record holder. But just a few months before the Olympics, it will appear that neither of these guys would show up. The circumstances of this were a little bit weird, and to this day it's a little bit hard to say why these guys didn't show up, but what matters is that they just didn't. And both of these guys will end their career just after that. The 2011 World Championships were their last competition. And while it was the end of the story for Akaev, it certainly wasn't the end of the story for Klokov. From there on, Dmitry Klokov will start basically becoming some sort of a YouTuber. It's a little bit weird to say it like this, but he started posting a lot of stuff online. He was already quite known at the time because he was already posting some of his lifts online on a pretty regular basis, I would say. Some of his most videos are from right around 2012 and the preparation for the Olympic Games. And so he decided to capitalize on this. After 2012, he will start organizing seminars all across the world. And at each of these seminars, as some sort of marketing move, he would always put off like pretty crazy stunts. You can think about 100 kilo one hand snatch, 150 kilos by 10 power snatch, which is so crazy. Like, I don't think people realize how crazy this truly is. But this was pretty much Klokov's life after this. And so, as some sort of a marketing move for his seminars, he also started to come to the World Championships and just put up a huge snatch in the training hall. That was his thing. So he did it in 2014. He did a 200 kilo full snatch, which was pretty crazy because that's more than what any heavyweight lifter in 2014 had been able to do. And he also did the post snatch at 200 kilos in 2015 at the World Championships in the training hall. He actually failed the first attempt, which is a pretty fun fact, but he did make it in the end with the Ninja Turtle shirt, and this kind of became his sign of greatness somehow. But now I'd just like to come back to the original story and talk about how good Klokov actually was. Was he as good as people say? And I think that there's a little bit of an argument to be made for him not being as good as people would imagine. If you were to compare him to Ruslan Nurdinov, to Ilya Ilyin, to even a guy like Simon Martirosyan, Akbar Joaev, many of the great heavyweights of our generation, Klokov is just not on the same level. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that he wasn't great. Because in 2005, when he did 442.5 kilos at 110 kilos of body weight, that is an all-time performance. And of course people will say that it is at the national championships, doesn't really matter, the drug testing, etc, etc. I don't really mind about that type of thing. I just think that he was able to put up these lifts that no heavyweights, almost no heavyweights in the history of weightlifting was able to put up. And of course the conditions were favorable, but it doesn't take off the fact that he truly is one of the strongest heavyweight lifters of all time. So my conclusion to was Klokov actually good is, yeah, he was great. He was just maybe slightly overrated when talking about his international career. But was he a bad weightlifter? Was he even not a great weightlifter? Absolutely not. He was an amazing lifter. So let me know what you think about this, and make sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel to see the video of tomorrow.